Till that in 1920, the town of Jackson, Wyoming elected an all-female town council by a margin of 2-1 over the men, drawing the most voters the town had ever seen. Known as the petticoat rulers, the women served for 3 years and did a great deal to clean up the notoriously lawless town. They have a section in the JH Historical Museum. One of the 5 even beat out her husband, who was a previous council member. Can someone tell me why there's a Wyoming in Michigan? A city, Wyoming MI. Why? Wyoming was also the first state to grant women the right to vote. I too love Stuff You Should Know podcasts. Bring back the Centennial Edition. Damn, I lived there for 7 years and never knew this, and now 100 years later we could use some cleanup. Time to petticoat America. Why haven't they made this a TV show yet? Edit, ugh, already in comments, sorry for the repeat. Well, Maria was already a great leader. Ellie could easily follow through if she goes back. Why did they only serve 3 years if they cleaned up the town so well? Was it just how long their terms were and they couldn't go again? Or did they get beat the next election? I know some other town put a woman on the ballot as a joke, and she won and did good. Was this a similar thing where was done with ill intent or what? They were also the first state to enfranchise women, but no one would call Wyoming a progressive state today. What gives? Any historians? I've always been merit-minded. If the best person for the job happens to be a woman or minority, have at it. The more talent our society has access to, the better we all will be for it. The only way to make proper use of diversity is to allow everyone to compete, and the best candidate, no matter who, should get it. Yes, at a time when the women's suffrage movement promoted prohibition, which leads some of the most violent and lawless crime syndicates in American history. Love the town square with the antler arches. / petticoat. One would have to wonder though if prohibition had something to do with the crime rate, seeing as that also went into effect early 1920. Damn, too bad Wyoming isn't a real place. r/Wyoming do isn't exist. Wyoming was first in women's equality in a lot of things. We were the first state to give women the right to vote, had the first female governor, and this TIL. The Wyoming territorial legislators also passed a law guaranteeing equal pay for teachers regardless of gender, as well as a law guaranteeing married women property ownership separate from their husbands. The first woman ever lynched for livestock rustling was in Wyoming. Also, the first public monument to a prostitute is in Wyoming. Wyoming was the first state to grant suffrage to women as well. Their entrance to the Union was based on it too. Wyoming made a stand that if Congress denied them the ability to provide women the right to vote, then they would not become a state no matter what. Wyoming provided several firsts for women across the nation. As far as I understand it, the idea was that many women in the West held positions of power even if they weren't official, just because of necessity. Wyoming decided that it was pointless to distinguish between men and women since both had to fend for themselves on the frontier. Once the option of statehood came into question, Wyoming had been through enough to realize that their women were easily equals to their men and that the only thing separating the two was education and opportunity. Amazing. There are places in the developed world where women were still not permitted to vote then. A notoriously lawless Wild West town. What did the women there do for a living, I wonder? Why is it that female suffrage came through first in lawless Western territories? With regard to Colorado, https://archive.org/stream/educational-revi36 new oft #page/402/mode/2up. The motivation for the women to run was that the city council drank the library fund up at the local saloon. The city council was made up the women's husbands. The Jackson Museum has a great exhibit on this. My husband's hometown in Mississippi did this as well sometime in the 30s, I believe. Jackson, Wyoming. Just got nom flashbacks. Then you realize that Wyoming does not exist. Were you listening to the new Stuff You Should Know episode 2? Wyoming Territory was also the first place to give women the vote, and after statehood was the first to sign the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, Giving women the right to vote throughout the US, that's pretty cool. Today I learned is always fun to learn new interesting history fun facts. Towns still chock full of lawbreakers and tax evaders. We call them millionaires and billionaires now though instead of outlaws. Men bad, women good the post. But according to people these days women weren't allowed to do anything until like 1995. And that's when it became Jackson Hole. Well, it's like I always say, if you need something cleaned up, best find some women. You all talk as if women were not capable of this the whole time. This was the first known HOA. Wow, they ascended to the staggering height of town council and were so effective they reigned for 3 whole years. This is the stuff of meth. Laughing. Wyoming, I think, was the first state in the Union to give women the right to vote. I'm not sure why it's become so conservative since. And did a great deal to clean up the notoriously lawless town. So they made it less fun. Why is this noteworthy? Any which way you can. Heard one went off to clean up Santa Barbara, too. The one on the right looks like Kathy Bates so much I'm not convinced this isn't her. Finally, something interesting to say when I say I'm from Wyoming. Jackson is such an underrated town, that place is awesome. Johnny Depp as the women it can't miss. Love that town. I feel like I did something wrong just staring at them, so what happened after 3 years? Why not re-elected? I listened to the same podcast, grats on your karma. I'm in Jackson, Wyoming RN, most of them were voted in as jokes. Hey, that's where my favorite artist is from. Lesbians. Yes. I want a movie of this PLS anti. Man, Reddit turns more and more into Tumblr every day. Remind me. 2 weeks. Is that the place where that live stream suddenly became famous? I'd watch a movie about the dudes of this town struggling to rock in their last days. Too many Karens for this to work today. If the town was lawless, then crime must have went up during those 3 years significantly. We have a female prime minister, and 40% of our government are women. Both the men and women are doing a good job. Norway. But, of course, aren't these the kind of bitches that brought in prohibition? Why don't more people know about this? The only reason this worked was because all women involved were menopausal, so they couldn't act irrationally or bleed on the Constitution. 100% they ran on a prohibition platform. I wonder what can be done to clean up the notoriously lawless US. Karens ruining fun circa 1920. Gosh, thank God they came in and banned alcohol. Then their periods synced up. Town was devastated. I think it's Patton Oswalt has a fantastic bit about how all the great movies were edited by women. Men just shooting so much film, oh yeah, shooting film all over the place, and then the women come in to edit all that garbage into something good. I don't take it as a serious assessment of genders, but I'd be damned before I didn't laugh at it. And then, Kathy Bates on the far right mugging for the camera. Needs a movie, in other words. https:// read. It /fodg 515 FES 51. JPG, were they collectively known as, the Jackson Holes. Great example to vote for Joe Jorgensen for president. Stuff you should know just did a good podcast on this and other women who have ruled or held power before current day. Good stuff, deleted. I am like 90% sure I'm closely related to Grace Miller, but it's late in Wyoming and I don't want to wake my grandma up. Deleted. Yeah, but you know it was hell once a month. Yes. We need more women in politics. And a female president. Good old days of Wyoming. Fun fact, the town of Hooterville from the TVSH Petticoat Junction was based on Jackson. Also true, virgins girls would swim in the town water tower until a oral gonorrhea outbreak happened and the swim hole has closed. Tour stories.